So my daughter comes to me and has come to me about help with a math problem, help with homework in general. And my general rule is I will help you, but I need you to try at least twice. And the theme of today's podcast is that uncomfortable moment, probably more for the child or the person. It could be an adult too. It doesn't have to be. This isn't necessarily only for a child, maybe an employee, but this episode is about that moment of try. At least give it a moment, see if you can recollect, and then go from there. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Moving with Life. Andy here. And we're continuing down this path of decision making, being observant. And today in particular is something that I think a lot about actually as a dad and parenting in real time. At least that's kind of the way I'm framing it. The way I've framed it in my head is, okay, am I helping too much? Am I helping too little? Am I doing too much? Am I doing too little? And sometimes I don't know the answer, and I will ask my wife, hey, this is what I'm thinking. It's like, am I doing an okay thing in this decision? And today, specifically, again, is it's natural to want to help your kid or your employee or your friend. And sometimes it's needed right away. But in some of the examples I'll be given today, excuse me, is sometimes also they need to learn how to problem solve. Or sometimes it's a situation where you've been here before. I believe in you, and I think you can probably figure it out. Now we get to a point down the line, some time has passed by, and you still haven't gotten it. Then it's okay. I'm here to help. We'll figure it out together, and we'll walk through it, so on. And so that's point number one. Again, it could be an adult, could be a family member, could be your child, your cousin, anybody that is seeking your help. The struggle is needed, and I actually struggle with giving myself more struggle. So it's not something that I'm, again, trying to be like a hypocrite about, but in these examples, what I'm talking about is a parent is always fast to, at least from what I've seen from my observation, is, oh, you see someone struggling, you want to go help immediately, versus, okay, does it look like they can possibly figure this out or do this thing by themselves? Now, it's not to take away being a helpful person. It's not to take away, I see you struggling with that box. Let me go and immediately help you move that box. Hey, is there any more box that I'll help you with? Or is this heavier so you can go get a lighter box? Either way, it don't matter. Struggle is okay. And that's all I'm trying to promote here is that struggle is okay. One thing to think about that I hadn't even actually thought about was, is it difficult for you to see them in the discomfort and the struggle? Or are they actually can't do it possibly by themselves? Again, it's a balance. There's a balance there. And so that leads me into point number two, where they've gone through the struggle and now you're at the how. Okay, let's walk through this. And the actual example that I'm going to move on from, like, let's say math problems and homework, is the example that I have is shoe tying. I think back at the beginning of the school year, my daughter, she knows how to tie her shoes, but they weren't as tight as she wanted them. And so at the beginning, I was actually just tying her shoes for her because she wanted them tighter. But then I got to a point to where, again, it crossed my mind where, hold on, I need you to learn how to do this, because just because you don't get it the first time doesn't mean you'll never know how to do it. And that's kind of something that I've learned, again, in watching her and that little moment of struggle of keeping the initial knot tight to then make the shoe tight and stay tight. I realized that I needed to tell her, hey, it takes more than once. Even if you tie your shoes once in a day, to get exactly to the perfect way that you want it, it's like you're gonna have to figure that out. There's never been any rebuttal to it, but I can see sometimes where there's a little bit of frustration. It's like it's okay, do it again. It's only tying your shoes. It's okay to be in a little bit of struggle. I believe that you will figure it out, and you can figure it out. Another one that's come up more recently, and I've talked about how we're kind of in baseball season, and it's been fun doing that and teaching, and not that for me it's just literally for the love of the game. And one example I have is baseball mechanics, where a few weeks ago we did literally grounders for probably like 20, 30 minutes, but no glove. And so the objective was for them to have them and their friend throw grounders slow enough to for each other for the others to catch. And the point was to get your hand on the ground so that the ball wouldn't go under you. And I remember when I was in Little League as well, and it was always put the glove on the ground because the ball's gonna go by you, and lo and behold, the ball will go by you 8 times out of 10 if you don't have your glove properly on the ground. That's a moment where I had to adjust it at the beginning, and then bring that drill. Be like, no, take your gloves off. You're gonna get reps at bending your knees a little bit and getting your hand on the ground to stop the ball. The next one that's tied to baseball is the way stepping to throw the ball, because some of the players, they were stepping with their opposite foot and throwing it this way, and it's an awkward. And it's interesting because in my mind, I'm like, man, how does it not feel awkward to you? But obviously, it didn't feel awkward, and doesn't feel awkward to the kids sometimes. So it was addressing that too. It's like, it's step this way, and you're throwing. And you have your throwing foot, and you're throwing over your body essentially, right? And I still have to remind some of the kids now. And again, it's interesting because there's a time to intervene at the beginning, and there's a time to intervene at the end. It's up to you to figure that out, but this is just how I've approached it. And again, this goes back to showing an employee how to use this software, or how to use a conveyor belt, or some machinery, something to that effect. And so the final point for today is how, at least for me, and what I've gathered again in the year that I've been home, and really questioning myself of if I'm doing enough, am I not doing enough, am I helping too soon, am I helping too late? How does my daughter feel about the gap I leave for her to figure something out, and then I'll help her address the problem when the time comes. Just not gonna be immediately. More times than not, I'm not gonna just jump right in. I'm not. But at the end of the day, I think being observant is a skill, because the way I frame it, because I think of a military example of being a helicopter. In this case, being a helicopter parent, being a helicopter manager, just hovering and seeing where you can dip your fingers and your hands in, like, oh, let me do it. Oh no, I don't like the way you're doing it. I'm gonna do it my way, or I'm gonna do it this way, or this is the right way to do it, and you just do it for them instead of showing. Actually, here you're missing step 2 and 3 out of this 5-step process. Here, let me re-show you. Let me re-teach you how to do step 2 and step 3, and then let me watch you do it in real time to see that you actually understand the way this process goes, the way this system goes. And even speaking of system, is like, I'm even trying to develop my system, because not everything works perfectly every single time, but that's where being observant, I will argue, is the skill, not a flaw. Sometimes sitting back is the right and the better answer. And so I want you to think about, is there a time has it been a challenge in your own life where you had to learn the hard way, or you were trying to take a shortcut, and so you ended up having it take so much longer? And again, this could be relevant to teammate, family member, an employee, because I feel like then I balance that with control, because then again, there's things where I have to take over because you don't know. And the simple example that I have is my daughter. There was actually a math problem that came up recently where they actually hadn't taught it in class yet, and I was like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense to me. So I'm like, well, let me show you how I do it. Don't be open-minded when you go back to class. And mind you, they're elementary age kids, right? So it's like, I try to be as generous as possible to get them to the answer, or get her to the answer, because in that moment, then it's like, I could just take control. But that could be something you can ask yourself as the manager, as the parent, as the friend. Is it just because am I on my power trip? Is it me wanting to take control of the situation all the time? My favorite thing is when someone else takes initiative, because I think there's a difference between taking initiative and taking control. Because then taking control falls into the FOMO stuff, the fear of missing out. Oh, I do it the best way. Oh, I can do it better, so I'm going to do it myself. Instead of balancing, especially as you get to, a managerial position, a parental position of, well, I need you to do this task and you need to take care of it. Have I taught you enough to go and take care of that situation, that issue, that project that I have for you? And so again, you can ask yourself, is it your discomfort of seeing them struggle, or are they actually in a struggle that they cannot absolutely possibly solve on their own with some time? And so as we close out today, in today's episode, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to raise someone who expects to be helped. She should want to have people that she can count on when she needs the help. But at least in my opinion, as I go through day to day, week to week, homework assignment to homework assignment, is just a matter of fact of, actually, I don't want you to be upset because you can't solve. I want you to know that I'm here to help you. There's the balance, right? But I need you to try. If you haven't at least tried, you're doing yourself a disservice. And I think you have the brain and the knowledge to possibly figure it out. Again, there's that simple example that I gave there at the end where the subject within math, she hadn't been taught it yet. That's totally different from the overall point of being observant, being involved, and taking initiative versus being controlling. And I believe that although it's not always right, the better answer is to leave some space, and then you can even say, I see you struggling. What part are you struggling with? Here, come on, let's figure it out. Come on, let's sit at the table and we'll figure it out. So, if you made it this far, thank you for listening in. Thank you for tuning in. If you feel like something on here hit home, you can share it with a parent, a coach, someone, an employee, or maybe you can use something. You can use this, just the idea of being observant and knowing when to intervene, and then pulling the brake on yourself to not be so quick to help. It's like, well, problem solving is a necessary thing, especially in the world that's changing, with AI and people being scared about losing their jobs because AI is going to replace their jobs, so on and so forth. It's like, okay, it still puts you in a situation where you have to think, and it might take thinking a little bit longer than you're used to, especially again in this world of scrolling and whatnot. But it's okay, and it's gonna be okay. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment a way that you've helped someone this week. Comment a situation where you put the brakes. Don't forget to subscribe. It brings you back here every week. My intent is to bring something that's happening in real time that hopefully you can take just one thing from it that will help you move forward with your week, with your day, with your month, whatever that looks like. If you're on Spotify, don't forget to leave a rating. Those help. Again, anything that you all leave, I see. I'll get a notification, obviously, and I respond as I see fit, I respond appropriately. And so go out and find that balance that works for you. And so until next time, keep moving with life.